Sankofa, a Ghanaian symbol of a bird with an egg in its beak looking backward while moving forward, reminds us that holding on to the wisdom of the past is necessary to fulfill the promise of our future. The commemoration of 50 years of Black students at Duke University affords us the opportunity to look back at our beginning. Duke University was one of the last major universities to desegregate. In 1961, the Board of Trustees voted to desegregate the graduate and professional schools, and in the following year, 4 African American students matriculated into Duke graduate schools. 2 years later, in 1963, the first 5 African American undergraduates entered Duke. These students found a school with segregated restrooms and a section at Wallace Wade Stadium designated colored. 50 years later, thousands of African Americans have graduated from Duke. Today, a large percentage of the Duke incoming class, African American and otherwise, come from the nation's capital. Also, many Duke graduates relocate to the Washington, D.C. area, which provides unique opportunities to work in government and private industry. Given that the nation's capital is such a great place to work and live, it provides an ideal setting in which to sit down with alumni and reflect on the legacy of African Americans at Duke. The African American presence at Duke did not only change us as individuals, but it also impacted the university. Join us on this journey as we reflect on some of the successes and struggles over the past 50 years and how they will continue to impact Duke.
My class was the first class that entered the undergraduate program, and then you'd have to remember that there were 2 campuses. So there were 3 women and 2 men. We knew each other well, we were good friends. And then I think that I was also friends with some of the graduate students, those who came in around the same time.
The Black community at Duke while I was there was fairly small.
It was a period of transition, I think, between the activism of the 60s and that had sort of run its course.
We had a number of people in my class and in the classes that preceded me that really blazed a trail at Duke. I'm thinking of the likes of Malkia Lydia, Tanya Robinson, Heather Grant, folks who ran the Black Student Alliance, who were members of the student government, who really did quite a bit to advance the cause of African American students at Duke and really did a lot to take the university from good to great.
We were athletes, we were scientists, we were socially involved in sororities and other different types of cultural activities.
The Black Faculty Initiative was an undertaking by students to press the faculty to diversify its ranks even more than they already had. So we constantly did our best to constructively engage the administration and the faculty in a dialogue about how to bring more African American professors to Duke and then find ways to retain those individuals.
We were concerned about Hope Valley Country Club and the fact that the president, Douglas Knight, was a member of Hope Valley Country Club, which was segregated, and also that some of the Duke departments, particularly the athletic department, held a banquet there. So we wrote a letter of protest to President Knight about the Association of Administrators and Departments with Hope Valley.
I believe it was 2000, an article came out in the Duke Chronicle. It was called 10 Reasons Why Reparations Are a Bad Idea and Racist Too, and it was by David Horowitz. And technically it was an advertisement, but the way it was positioned in the Chronicle, it took up a full page, and it looked like as if the Duke or the Chronicle was promoting this idea. Reparations are a bad idea because blacks owe America because whites died in the Civil War as well. And it was a shock for the students. And I think the first thing we did is we all gathered in the Bryan Center because we just wanted to be around each other. And I remember us sitting there not knowing what to do, looking at each other, saying something has to be done. You'd have some outbursts of anger. And we actually came up with 5 demands at the time, and we gave those to the president. And we did a silent march. I'll never forget, a 1-by-1 silent march from the Bryan Center to the president's office in the Allen Building. And and it was powerful. But it was amazing that we all could come together and do something that meant something that was important to all of us.
I went to public school in New York City, so I remember distinctly one day reading the Federalist Papers and feeling that I was totally unprepared to be at Duke University. And I called my mom that day to let her know that I did not belong at this school, but she gave me the encouraging words that my mother always gave me, and those words were to do the best you can. And I think that is what propelled me to do very well at Duke and to succeed and to graduate with honor.
I was fortunate in that I went to a boarding school in Beaufort, South Carolina, and it was one of several independent black boarding schools started after the Civil War. This was one that was started to educate the newly freed slaves and women. And so the school was small, facilities were limited, but there was a real emphasis on excellence and doing your work well, and what they taught well. So in that sense, I had that kind of preparation and also the experience of having to study. Each night we had study hall. So I had that kind of discipline when I came.
At that point, it was very well taken and very well supported by family and community. It was expected at that point.
They were all really proud of me. I think that, there were some questions among some folks, probably people at my school who, college advisors who were surprised that I turned down an Ivy League offer to go to Duke. I would say that's probably the most, friction I got. But, from my family, friends, everyone was just very, very proud of me.
I think the life-changing experience that I would share involved a woman who worked in the cafeteria. I always made it a point to befriend the people who worked in the cafeteria and who cleaned around campus. And it happened to be a woman in the cafeteria who introduced me to another student whose father happened to be the president of one of the law schools to which I applied. And as a result, I received a special invitation to visit the law school, and it eventually obtained full tuition for the entire 3 years. And so I think I always tell people to befriend everyone around you because you don't know who might be able to help you. And I think it was a woman in the cafeteria who helped change my life.
Working in my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, on a service project, I remember having to tutor a first grader that was probably 2 or 3 years behind. He had serious emotional trauma at home, lived with his grandmother. He would come to school and would barely talk. He wouldn't interact with the teacher, the classmates, and I was teaching him how to read. And the breakthroughs, even though they were small, it was a phenomenal opportunity to see, to try to make change in someone else's life, and it just blew me away. And it let me see that there's so many more people that are unfortunate, and you've got to give back.
Well, I did not participate in any black affinity groups at Duke because there were none. We were the first 5 there. And so there weren't enough of us to have one. By the time I was in my senior year, there were sufficient numbers of us that I recall having a meeting that was called by the younger African American students at Duke in terms of getting together. And I think that was the first time we came together as a group.
I am proud to say that I was on the charter line of the Iota Mu chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, which we chartered on Duke's campus. And I also participated in the Black Mass Choir and won the drama group, RAMU.
Historically black sorority, Delta Sigma Theta. I was a member of the modern Black Mass Choir. It's now called Voices of Praise.
I was president of the Society of Black Engineers. I was also vice president of Alpha Phi Alpha and the modern Black Mass Choir.
My main affiliation with Black affinity groups at Duke was through my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi.
Black Campus Ministries, that was really important to me.
I was in Black Student Alliance, of course. I was a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. I was the president of NPHC. I was co-chair of AMP, which was African Americans Mentoring Program.
I was involved in the Black Student Alliance, and I was also a member of a historically black sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
At the time, I didn't know that Duke had formally integrated. Dr. Tosterson came and started questioning me about my interest, and I spent a day there, and he specified that that I should get the application in, and that I could come and work in his lab for the summer. And that's basically what I did. And he said, we would like for you to start this fall. And of course, I started the fall of 1962.
I remember seeing an ad in the New York Times back, I guess, in 73 or 74. They had a whole section in the New York Times about Duke. And it really energized me about the place, that it was a place that was going to make a mark in the future. That started it out for me. And I saw that there were a lot of things that I could do at Duke.
My decision to attend Duke was very supported by my friends and family. I actually applied to Duke early decision. It was the only school that I wanted to go to. One of my older cousins went to Duke, and she told me about her phenomenal experiences and just told me a lot of appealing things about Duke, and it made me really want to go there.
I definitely chose Duke hands down after BSAI weekend. It was in March of senior year of high school, and it was just fun, outstanding. I met, my current friends and classmates, and it was amazing. Once you have an opportunity to really spend time, an entire weekend on Duke's campus, it's really hard to say no.
I have to say that my social circle at Duke was basically all African American students. And I always tell people that was one of my biggest regrets. I mean, I enjoyed being with other black students, but I also regret significantly the fact that I had absolutely no white friends at Duke University, which is really kind of sad. In the dormitories, when we played our music was always too loud. None of the social activities were relevant to us. And so I really find that to be a sad statement, but it is a true statement.
When I arrived on campus, I ran for dorm president, and my dorm was the largest freshman dorm on campus. So I had to get to know a lot of people. And in doing so, I realized that I actually enjoyed that I was starting to learn things about myself, and that I wasn't easily defined as I thought I was before. But I didn't come to Duke recognizing that. It was through hanging out with fellow students that were different from my outlook, from my background. And so I think I spent time, I hung out with just about everyone, and in running for student body president, I think, again, that served me well.
In high school, I was very small class, again, a predominantly white high school that I attended, class of 50, and I went through that school starting in 4th grade through 12th. So there were some years that I was there. I was never the only black student, but I was, sometimes the only black girl in the class. And so coming from that kind of environment, when I got to Duke, I was like, there's more than 100 black people in my class. This is amazing.
I think overall I had no regrets whatsoever. I didn't understand it or appreciate it while I was there, but after leaving, I felt that Duke was a little utopian community, and I enjoyed my experience overall. In fact, I have a 17-year-old daughter now who's going to be applying to Duke, and I'm hoping that she will be able to attend.
Duke is a big part of my life, and my blood, as a lot of folks' blood, is true blue. And it was a great experience. But I think when you talk to Duke students, I don't care what background they're from, they're quite excited, and you can't get them to shut up about it.
I think Duke was where I was supposed to be. I think I grew as a result of being at Duke. I could have gotten an academic experience, the equivalent or better than Duke if I'd gone to some other schools, but I don't think I would have gotten the kind of personal growth.
I love going back to campus. To me, it's kind of like Superman going to the Fortress of Solitude. I mean, it's such a serene place that whenever I have a chance to go back, I do that.
you know, all things considered, my very best friends in life, I met at Duke. Duke taught me fortitude, it taught me perseverance, it prepared me, and I wouldn't trade that at all.
The black students' experience there has been very tough for the folks who first came there in the 60s and 70s. You would expect that to be that way. But I think that we've been able to allow our culture to blossom, at least that's my sense, of the time from the 60s to the current day, so that black students have a lot more choices of who they want to, how they want to experience Duke within the black community and with other diverse organizations.
I think the black students at Duke have done a phenomenal job in their careers and in their contributions to society. I am particularly proud of the black athletes. At the time when other schools were exploiting black athletes, I watched our young men excel in their studies and excel in their careers. And so I give Duke great credit for making sure that our boys not only played ball, but also learned.
The legacy of African American students at Duke over the past 50 years, I think, has everything to do with taking our university from a solid, good regional university to a great global university that engages people from all walks of life. When I think of the Wilhelmina Rubin Cooks and the Dr. Brenda Armstrongs, the Malkia Lydias, those people that came before us all brought something to this university that had not existed, that was not present before 1961, and brought it in a way that said, we're not monolithic, our perspective is valuable, it's important, it's here to stay, and I think in encompassing that, Duke really started to look at itself in a way that it had not before.
Looking at where students have come from, the makeup of the student body, where the students have gone and are going on to in their chosen career paths and endeavors, I think the world is their oyster and they're choosing things even more so today along a lot of less traditional fields. A lot of students would come and become doctors and lawyers and teachers and bankers, but I think today you're seeing a lot more students making their own path, designing their own majors, and doing a lot more international endeavors.
Over the next 50 years, the black experience at Duke will probably be almost non-existent. When I say that, I mean it won't be described as a black experience. I think it will be described as an experience.
When I think about what the experience of black students at Duke in the next 50 years might be, I have no idea. And I think it's in part because I'm not sure what the black experience in this country is going to be like. And that's going to be aligned with that.
Well, I hope that Duke students, or black Duke students, will continue to have a positive experience at Duke. I hope that we will have more black faculty members, especially in sciences and math and technology departments. And I hope that the Duke black population will continue to grow and become involved in all aspects of campus life.
I would love the Duke black experience to be one that's cohesive as it is today, where students go to parties together, black students hang out together, they make friends, but 10 times more integrated.